Okay, we're going to look at converting between temperature scales. In the United States, we usually use Fahrenheit, which is this degrees F here. But in science, most of the time, we use degrees Celsius, which is this guy here. Okay, so basically everywhere else besides the United States uses Celsius for their temperature scale. In science, we also tend to use this one you might not have seen before, which is big K for Kelvin. Kelvin is a temperature scale that is pretty nice to work with in calculations because there are no negative numbers, which makes our answers make a lot more sense. So the temperature ends up being a bigger number. Like room temperature in Kelvin is about 300 Kelvin. But at the same time, you don't have to worry about pesky negatives and things like that. And everything's going to be a positive number. The lowest temperature in Kelvin is 0. Okay, so let's look at how we can go between these temperatures. So say if you are taking a measurement in Celsius in the lab, but you want to know relatively how hot or cold that is, based on what you know in Fahrenheit, you can figure out what that is. Or vice versa. Maybe you have a Fahrenheit temperature and you want to know what that would be in Celsius to kind of get an idea of that. So for this first one, we have 73 degrees Fahrenheit that we're going to try and convert to Celsius. This is about room temperature for a lot of rooms, at least how warm I like it. So we're going to try and convert it to Celsius and see where that takes us. So we can kind of get an idea of what the room temperature would be like in Celsius in the lab. Okay, so if I want to go from Fahrenheit to Celsius, I want an equation up here that has Celsius on the left. Okay, where Celsius is going to be equal to something I convert in here, something I change. So I'm going to be plugging in my Fahrenheit. So between these two, I probably want this one, where I have my Fahrenheit here. I'm going to plug in my 73 Fahrenheit into this, subtract 32, and multiply by 0.555. Okay, so that should spit me out an answer in Celsius. Celsius equals all that stuff we do. So I'm going to take 73 minus 32 times 0.55 and 5. Okay, now you might be wondering about these parentheses here. Those are important because sometimes your calculator will try to outsmart you. It will see this multiplication sign if you just type in 73 minus 32 times 0.55, and it'll be like, I know order of operations, which means I'm going to take these two and multiply them first. And that's going to give you a different answer. We don't want that. We want to get this subtraction done first, and then we'll multiply later. So if you're doing this in a calculator, make sure you do 73 minus 32, 73 minus 32, get an answer, which in this case is 41, and then multiply by 0.555 times let's do 0.555 equals, okay, and this is going to be equals to degrees Celsius. So 41 times 0.555 gives me about 22.755 on my calculator. Okay, and that is now in degrees Celsius. So let's go see if I can find that answer. So I'm going to click this drop down. Hey, 22.755. Now, depending on how you round or how your calculator rounds, it might be a little bit different when you go and punch it into your calculator, but pick the closest answer. And it should be a pretty clear difference. It's not going to be like, well, this one's 22 and this one's 23 or something like that. So it's like 22.755 is our answer there. Let's do another one. Convert 18 degrees Celsius to Fahrenheit. So, again, maybe you're taking this measurement in the lab, and you want to know what this is in Fahrenheit, so you can know relatively how hot or cold that is. Okay, well, if we are going from Celsius to Fahrenheit, well, I want to use something like this, where Fahrenheit's going to be equal to something where I'm plugging in my degrees Celsius here to convert it, to change it into Fahrenheit. So this is saying I need to take my 18 degrees Celsius times 1.8 and then add 32. Okay, so let's do this. So 18 times 1.8 plus 32. That should give me an answer in Fahrenheit. Okay, so let's plug this in. 18 times 1.8. That gets me 32.4. Then I need to add to that 32. So that should give me my answer in degrees Fahrenheit. So 32.4 plus 32 is 64.4. So this is, let me erase this. 64.4 degrees Celsius. All right, so let's see if that's in my answers. Hey, 64.4. And again, it might not be exactly spot on to what you calculate, but pick whatever's closest. All right. This last problem on this page is doing another conversion from Fahrenheit to Celsius, which is just like the one we did up here. So I'm not going to go through this one explicitly, but I'll help you kind of see what's going on here. So we start with 212 Fahrenheit. That should be going in here since we're trying to calculate Celsius. So Celsius equals, I want my 212 minus 32. Get an answer for that first, and then multiply by 0.555. And that should get you your answer. Okay, let's look at one more example where we throw in Kelvin. Maybe two more examples. We'll see. One or two. Okay, so let me move on to the next page. Let me erase all of these. Can I erase? Oh, I can wipe screen. Hey, there we go. Okay. So let's look at, let's see this first one. Convert 22 degrees Celsius to Kelvin. All right. So in this case, I'm starting with Celsius. I want to convert to Kelvin. So I want Kelvin equals. I want K equals, which is what I've got here. Okay. So I'm going to be taking this 22 degrees Celsius and plugging it in. All right. So K for Kelvin equals 22 plus 273.15. Now, our temperatures in Kelvin tend to come out a little bit nastier and a little bit bigger, but the nice thing is the conversion between Kelvin and Celsius is very easy. All you have to do to get from Celsius to Kelvin is add 273.15. Okay, the only difference between Kelvin and Celsius is that Kelvin basically bumps up Celsius to such a bigger number that you can't get any negative temperatures anymore. Okay, so what we should get is 295.15, and that is now in Kelvin. All right, let's see if we have that answer. Hey, there it is, 295.15. All right, cool. Let's do one more example. Scroll that. Okay, so this is Fahrenheit to Celsius. So again, we already kind of did one of those. Let's do this Kelvin to Celsius. Okay, so in this case, I'm starting in Kelvin. Okay, I'm gonna have to scroll this a little bit. And it's gonna be weird because it's gonna kind of go off the wrong spot. Let me see if I can just erase this part. I'm going to do a little arrow. Oh, that was the problem. Okay. Convert 273.15 Kelvin to Celsius, degrees Celsius. So in this case, I want to get Celsius as an answer. All right. And I'm going to be plugging in this 273.15 Kelvin right here. So I'm going to take 273.15 degrees Celsius equals 273.15 minus, well, 273.15. Okay, well, 273.15 minus 273.15 gets me 0. This is 0 degrees Celsius. Okay, so 0 degrees Celsius in Kelvin is 273.15 Kelvin. So let's make sure that answer's in there. Hey, there it is. 0. That wasn't too bad. All right, so hopefully that helps you with doing some of these conversions, and hopefully they aren't too bad. Just make sure you know what you're looking for. If you're going to want an answer in Celsius or Fahrenheit or Kelvin, you're looking for it on the right. You want that equals some other stuff that we plug in, and then you go and plug in the number that you do have into one of these equations, whichever one fits best.